My name is Alex Sheffield, and over the last 6 years, I've built multiple 6 and 7-figure businesses, including 3 dropshipping stores, a marketing company, 2 software companies, and this YouTube channel that you're watching right now. I've been able to travel around the world while running these businesses. I also exercise for at least an hour and a half every single day. I spend a lot of time with my wife, and I still make time for my friends and family. And so that said, I have a lot going on and there's a lot to manage. So while I'm working, I have to be very productive and get a lot done, which requires the productivity system that I'm going to be sharing with you in this video. I promise that if you implement even some of the tips that I'm going to share with you in this video, you will become more productive. Now, one thing you need to know before we get into the tips is that a lot of productivity videos that you'll see discuss different tools or organization tips that don't really cover the root of what productivity is. Most productivity hacks are like taking a supplement. It's not going to make you feel like you're on Adderall or just took 5 shots of caffeine, but over time, if you are consistent with them, you'll notice compounding improvement. So even if these hacks only add 1% to your productivity each day, over time, you become a productivity machine. Using a different app or color-coded calendar doesn't really change your ability to actually function at a higher level. So what I want to share with you today is not about tools or apps. This is about how to get you, who's watching this video right now, to actually get more things done in less time. You probably know that your earning power comes down to how much value you can create. And you can only create value based on how productive you are with your time. So maximizing productivity compounds how much you earn over time. For me, having maximum productivity comes down to managing energy, mindset, and environment. In a world where everyone seems to be so focused on hustle culture and working as many hours per day as possible, my goal is to get great results in less time. I don't want to waste away every day working 12 hours. So starting with energy, low levels of energy produce low level outputs. And I'll say that again because it's important. Low levels of energy produce low level outputs. When your energy is low, it's like a chef trying to cook with a dull knife. The meal can obviously still get made, but it's going to take longer, it's going to require more effort, and the end result won't look as sharp or professional. Sleep is the cornerstone of energy. It's the single most important element in determining your energy and health levels. Now, no matter what else you do, even if every single other area of your life is dialed in, if you're not getting enough sleep, you will eventually burn out. You need to sleep between 7 and 8 hours each night. That's what's considered optimal. And you want to try and sleep the exact same schedule every single day. A regular bedtime and wake up time, ideally around these same times every single day, makes it so that your sleep is at least on a reliable schedule and you're getting the same amount every night. It's like waking up with your phone charged to 100% every single day. When you wake up fully recovered, you're able to function better, get more done, and you have the battery to spare. If you're only waking up at 70%, you lose 30% of that day, which 100% sucks. Now, waking up early is another common hack, and don't get me wrong, I like waking up at 5 a.m. every day, but to be honest, I think it's more about the consistency of getting great sleep every single night and enough sleep that actually matters. Some people just work better in the afternoon and at night, and that's completely fine, as long as you're making sure to get those 7 to 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep. I also try to maximize my sleep while I'm asleep so that I always wake up at 100%. So a few things that I do is always making sure that the room is as cool as possible, and this allows me to sleep longer without waking up. Obviously, I keep the room as dark as possible and as quiet as possible, again, to help me avoid waking up. I also try to avoid eating and drinking as much as possible around 2 hours before I end up going to bed. And each night at 7:30 p.m., all of the lights inside turn a dark red color, which is sort of the bedtime alarm that I've set myself. And the red light itself is supposed to help you produce more natural melatonin, and it helps you fall asleep quickly and get a more natural full night of rest to wake up feeling fully refreshed. I try and follow this exact same sleep routine every single day the best I can, so that every morning I wake up feeling as refreshed and full of energy that I possibly can. Having a lot of energy is how I'm able to get a lot of things done throughout the day, and getting a lot of things done throughout the day is also how I'm able to get good sleep. That's why exercise is another essential part of my productivity routine. When you try to go to sleep with a bunch of extra energy, you'll find it's harder to fall asleep and you'll get worse sleep overall. Every single day, I do something active. Even if it's as small as just taking a couple-mile walk, I always make sure to get some kind of physical activity. My typical day looks like working out and weightlifting for about an hour, and then I'll follow that up with 20 minutes of cardio. So I've recently just been doing the stair stepper, and then roughly 3 times a week, I'll take a 3 to 5 mile run after my workout. The way that this exercise makes you more productive is it makes you get better sleep. It actually gets you more energy by pumping oxygen back into your blood. It helps sharpen your focus. It makes your moods more stable, which is critical, especially as an entrepreneur or a business owner. It reduces stress by lowering your cortisol. It can help you clear your mind overall, and it's a great way to step away from work or whatever task you're trying to be more productive at, while still helping you make personal progress. Now, you definitely don't have to exercise as much as I do every single day, but I have found that elevating your heart rate for at least 20 minutes per day gets you a majority of the results. This might be one of the most underrated productivity hacks. If you're not exercising, you're leaving money and time and productivity on the table. A lot of people will be totally out of shape and then wondering why they don't make as much money as they'd like to. Exercising is mostly a mental fix, but when you coordinate that with a strong diet, you take your overall health and energy to the next level. Now, your diet is not necessarily just about what you eat, but it's also when you choose to eat it. If you've ever had a huge breakfast of pancakes or French toast or cinnamon rolls, or even just a big bowl of cereal, a couple hours later, you feel like total shit. Controlling what you eat and when you eat it is one of the biggest cheat codes to mental clarity and even more energy. Now, just a few of the diet rules that I follow for myself is no food before noon. So from the time I wake up at 5 a.m. until noon, I'll only allow myself to have coffee and water. Again, this is just my routine and my opinion, but breakfast is an absolute hoax. You can wait until noon, and without eating, you'll be much more focused. I don't eat any carbs before dinner. Now, carbs are fine. I'm not a carnivore or anything, and I don't follow a super strict diet, but carbs throughout the day make you feel extremely sluggish and cause brain fog, so I don't eat them until I'm completely done working. I'll only really eat beef and cheese until dinner time. Usually for my lunch, I'll just have a bowl of ground beef with some cottage cheese in it or something like that. I might have a protein shake or something to snack on throughout the day, and then at night I'll kind of have a larger meal of sort of whatever I want to. I avoid eating large meals throughout the day, and I try to have a purposely small lunch and then snacks if I'm really feeling hungry. And the last hack I'll give you is that it's absolutely essential to cut out processed foods. So if it comes out of a box, it's probably not good for you. Foods with preservatives cause inflammation and lower your mental sharpness overall. Following even some of the tips that we've discussed this far, again, it's not like taking Adderall, but you should get some pretty instant results. You should see more focus, you should have a better mood and less mood swings overall, and just better overall energy every single day. Now, I learned pretty early on in trying to maximize productivity that even small distractions like snacking can be an expensive mistake throughout the day, and here's how. Every time that you change what you're doing, your brain has to completely switch what it's focused on, and this is called context switching. So if you're in the middle of writing an essay or something and someone texts you, answering that text can cost you anywhere from 20 to 45 minutes alone. As soon as you stop what you're doing and pick up your phone to answer that text, your brain begins to unload what it was already working on and load all the context for the new task, which is answering that text. Studies show that it can take 15 to 30 minutes for your brain to fully commit to any given task. And once that happens, if a switch or something takes place, it takes another 15 to 30 minutes for your brain to fully commit to that new task. So in short, even really small distractions can eat up enormous amounts of time, even if it doesn't seem like it. If you're consistently going back and forth trying to multitask, you'll never enter a flow state where you're able to get actual good work done. And I take this a step further. When I was 19, I went into real estate school to become a licensed real estate agent. Now, I had absolutely no idea what I was getting into. I didn't even really realize that being a real estate agent basically meant owning my own business. I just knew that some real estate agents made a ton of money. But once I got my license, I committed to going into the office every single day for at least 4 hours. And then I told myself I could work the other 4 hours from home. The thing is that my friends and family knew that I wasn't making any money. So occasionally they would ask if I could go to the gym or if I could hang out or if I could run an errand or just stop by. And who cares, because I wasn't making any money. So to them, my time wasn't worth anything. Even before I was making any money, I had to protect my time, even if that meant telling someone no. When you specifically outline the time that you are willing to work and the time that you're absolutely not willing to work, it gives you a lot more freedom. If something comes up and someone needs you during your focus time, you can politely tell them no. Over time, your friends and family will start to learn that you actually protect the time that you say you're going to be working. And then when your free time comes around, you can spend it however you want. The tricky part is just adhering to the plan and actually telling people no and saying no to distractions whenever they come up. Now, this honestly might sound kind of hard to do, and that's because it really is. But one thing that makes being productive a lot easier is having a very clearly defined goal. If you're going to put all this effort in and absolutely maximize your life so that you can be more productive while you're working and have more freedom for when you're not, it's pointless to try and maximize your productivity if you don't actually care why you're doing it. You have to be working towards something that you actually want, because otherwise the effort will outweigh the reward and you won't stay consistent. Remember, each one of these little habits and lifestyle tweaks is a small incremental change that end up compounding over time. So for example, when I was dead broke and first trying to make some money online, I wrote down my goal, which was to make $15,000 a month online in profit. So hopefully you can see this. I wrote down my goal, I put it on this little sticky note, and whenever I would get discouraged or I didn't feel like working, I would just glance over at the sticky note I had and it reminded me what I was doing all of this work for. Obviously, monetary goals like this can work, but if you have any reasons whatsoever, I suggest writing them down and putting them somewhere where you can see them. And that way, when you're trying to focus, you can get a quick glance at the reason why, and it helps you get back to work and actually knock out whatever it is you have to do. Now, the next tip I have for you is to create something I call a sacrifice list. Focus is not something that you actually do, but it's everything that you choose not to do. The idea of locking in really just comes down to saying no to absolutely everything except what's essential for you to grow your business or hit your goals. And I'll give you an example. Monday morning, you start working on whatever it is you have to do, but at 9 a.m., your favorite YouTuber drops a banger YouTube video. This goes on your sacrifice list. You made a commitment to yourself to actually get work done during a specific time on a specific day. And you can always watch this video later, but not during your designated productivity time. There will be things that you have to give up in order to get work done. And all of these things I put on what I call the sacrifice list. It's something that you do want to do, but you're actively going to give it up for the sake of productivity towards your goal. Plus, when you're done working and you come back to these things in your free time, they're that much better. Now, this sounds a little bit hardcore, but getting into the flow state in work and having actual focus really isn't about narrowing into one thing. It's about excluding everything except what you're working on. And when you're able to get work done super quickly, you have even more time to do all these things that you actually would rather be doing. But that brings us to the next tip, which is that your hour is only as good as your education. We've all heard the saying, work smarter, not harder. Well, it took me 6 months to make $1,000 from my first successful business. And that was coming off of probably 12 good failures. The thing is, the very next month after that, my income went up 4.5 times. And the month after that, I more than doubled it again. Nothing changed, except starting on month 7, every hour that I was putting in was built on top of 6 months worth of experience. I was just better than when I started. I was a lot more productive. Education beats action. So if you want to hack productivity, try learning what you want to do from someone who has already done it. When I started this YouTube channel that you're watching, I bought 3 courses that I've talked about in different videos, but I ended up spending between $6,000 and probably $10,000 just learning how to run a successful YouTube channel. That probably saved me 2 or 3 years of trial and error. And although it does sound like a lot of money, when my channel started making money, it made me a lot more than $10,000. And it made me that money a lot sooner than if I had tried to do the entire thing on my own. Education beats action because when you know exactly what to do, you end up getting a lot more out of every single hour that you work, making you a lot more productive.